Good afternoon. My name is Tumi Tladi. So let's see. Today, it's Monday, the 19th of July, 2021. Time is 2 minutes after 1 p.m. So what are we doing today? We should launch GitHub, and this site we should launch Azure DevOps as I'm continuing with the series of version control. And then let's see what we need to do today from our list. So we did cover previously the topic of who uses these services, GitHub and Azure DevOps. Today we're going to be doing external service providers that are on these services, meaning that AutoMapper is an external service provider I'm using. Well, I call them external service provider, but we're gonna be looking at the tools that I have used in my system that are on these platforms. So one of them is AutoMapper. So that's what we're gonna be focusing on today. Before we continue, in Visual Studio I was making some changes. Some of them are already being pushed, so let me push a few of them that are left behind. So I remember that AutoMapper, we're gonna do AutoMapper, we're gonna do Fluent Validation, and I believe Swagger, if Swagger is an open source. And then I'll tell you why I'm doing this video as part of a version control and why I am .NET developer because of the community. So let me just do this one simple task, and then that's it. Let me quickly push to Azure DevOps. There we go. We're still gonna cover this like pushing. It's on the list, it's being scheduled, like push, you know, the commit messages, master branch. I'm still gonna rearrange this list and then put it here, you know, like the number 10. What's gonna happen after we explore Git in Visual Studio? That's exactly what I'm doing here. And then from there, there should be, okay, Git in Visual Studio. We should also look at the tab. Git changes. Yes, let's move this guy up. Let's make it number 10. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna keep on updating this list as we continue. So now let's talk about some of these external services. So I'm gonna do right click on solution, and then I'm gonna check what is it that is installed, and then while it fires up NuGet packages, and then I'm gonna explain why in detail I'm doing this, and we'll take it from there. So let me see which tab by default is gonna pop up. Is it installed, or is it search, or is it what else? It's on, what else is part of the tabs? Let's give it a second. Right, so here's the thing about why AutoMapper Fluent Validation, because I'm a fan of .NET and I'm a .NET developer. Specifically, I'm a C# enthusiastic, and I'm into MVC, I'm into Web API, I'm into Xamarin because of the community. The reason why personally, and this is my opinion, why I hate Flutter, why I hate React Native and all that, I don't even want to try them. I don't even like Python. There's a guy who reached out to me on WhatsApp asking if I know Python. I don't want to know anything about Python. I don't want to. I'm a C# enthusiastic. So when I started teaching myself programming many years ago, I saw how big the community was. You know, people, you'll see that people are heavy on, you know, these platforms like GitHub and Azure DevOps, particularly GitHub. You know, some people are coming up with the solutions and then they're just pushing the code on GitHub, and then they're making it available for all of us, you know. So, and then I moved into looking at these official tools to be utilized. That's why I call them service providers. And one of them is AutoMapper. So while this guy loads, let's look for, okay, we'll come back here. Let's look for AutoMapper. And then let's look at Fluent Validation, because I know it's on GitHub. There we go. Cool. I'm not gonna look at the website at this time. I want this link where AutoMapper is on GitHub. That's what I'm gonna look at. And then this side, Fluent Validation, it's going to be the same thing. We're not going to get into the official website. We did that. Please check the previous videos where I went in detail what Fluent Validation is. And then what I want is this also. Okay, so we got two in the meantime. Unfortunately, I cannot do anything with Azure DevOps, but I just want to show because I cannot see the public repositories on Azure DevOps. It still is a bit of a problematic. So also on GitHub, there's nothing I can do here. Or maybe I can, but I also have access to GitHub from this side. Okay, let's go back to Visual Studio. Some of these packages are meant for Xamarin, so I'm not gonna touch them now, like ACR user dialogues. I'm gonna touch it or touch young on it as soon as I jump into Xamarin. But AutoMapper here it is, Entity Framework also, but it's Microsoft. I don't want Microsoft stuff. I want third-party external service providers. We have a Fluent Validation. Let's see. By now you should know that Microsoft it's heavy on open source. And then let's look at this Ninjet. We're talking about it in one of the videos. So Ninjet, we also need to explore it. Ninjet, let's see if it's on GitHub. And then Swashbuckle, which is a Swagger, is it on? Let's see. Yes, Ninja is on GitHub, which is fantastic. Swashbuckle, Swash, right? Something like this. Is it how you pronounce it? Yes, I believe so. And then Syncfusion, unfortunately, it's not in GitHub for some reason. But they do have some public repositories. And then we'll look at the Syncfusion if they're on GitHub. I'm looking for the original people behind this, which is, I don't know about this person, domain driven dev. No, maybe he's an independent. I wanted the people responsible. I think they're called Smart Bear by the company. Let me just say Swagger on GitHub. Okay. Are they on GitHub? Let's see if these are the ones. This guy keeps on popping up. This guy. But too many people are doing stuff for Swagger, so like this one. Okay, it's fine. This one I'm gonna leave it behind. Let me just look at this one. So it seems like they are on GitHub. They're called Swagger. Interesting. That's because they are verified. Now let's start with AutoMapper. So here's the thing. These external service providers that are making use of these services, one of them which is now currently GitHub, you can go into the source code. You can actually take a look at what is it that you're bringing into your project. It's important to know which external third parties you're bringing into your project. Even though their sole purpose is to make your life easier as far as you building that system and that app and that whatever is it that you're building, you need to know how it was built, or at least if there are issues, go and take a look at the code. It's very imperative. You can look at the issues if there are any issues. If for some reason it's not able to do its work, please look at it. But one of the main things is that it's still maintained. It's the most important thing to know, that is still maintained, and then by how many people. You see the contributors, are they still maintaining this? And then what are the issues? Is it passing? What's the current version number? So there's a lot you can explore about whatever you're bringing into your system. Look at the pull requests. Some people are finding other ways to make it more simple and much better and efficient for developers. So it's It's a very good thing as a developer to know, all of these things. So you can go deeper into the code. You can look at the integration test and unit test in the benchmark. So these people are very interesting. You can look at everything, literally. Something like, let's see. Well, okay, let's see. iObject Mapper is an interface. You can study this interface. You can look at the comments. I know you can explore this in Visual Studio, but take a look at the comments. These are associated with this code that has been pushed. Look at everything. Okay, so we're done with AutoMapper. Fluent validation. It's the same thing. Do we have issues? How many number of issues? Are they complaining about the same thing that you might probably experiencing? Look at the releases. 10 days ago, they released 10.3.0, the latest version. They updated this 7 days ago, which is interesting. They have a 4 pull request. Look at the code. Look at everything. Most importantly, is it passing? There it is. Is it passing the CI and CD? And like I said, you always want to get into the actual source, everything about it. For .NET Core, let's see what we can look at here. Let's just see what's in Mvc Validation Helper. You should learn to study the code. Like I said, look at everything and then the associated commit, everything. Okay, so that's a Fluent validation. Ninjet. Ninjet was updated 2017, so it's not heavily maintained, but 2020 they did something which is interesting. And how many contributors? 28. Is it passing? Yeah, the build is passing. These are the name of the downloads. Okay. And then the source itself, and then you look at everything. If you have issues, you can come back to it, literally. Because I used some of the stuff and then I didn't even know what they do or what they mean. So you can look at everything. So that's Ninjet. Swagger. Let's see at Swagger UI. 6 days ago, the last commit. And they released 19 days ago another version. So you look at the source, you look at everything. So these are the services that are few of them that are on these platforms, open source. You can study what's happening, because as this gentleman Tim Corey, please take a look at the Tim Corey. He's on GitHub, not on GitHub, he's on YouTube. He would usually say this, that if the code magically works, it's gonna frustrate you as a developer, because then you don't know how to fix it when it breaks. You don't want the code that magically works. You want to understand why it works. The last thing I want to do is Entity Framework, because I'm a fan of Entity Framework from Microsoft. I know also it's an open source. So let's take a look at this. Just this. Entity Framework. I don't want the docs, I want the official. Let me go to .NET. And then let's search Entity Framework in this organization. Yes. EF6, there we go. So this is Entity Framework 7 years ago. This is Microsoft stuff. It's still heavily maintained. They're still releasing, which is fantastic. You also can see the source code itself, and then you can read everything about it, because I'm making use of it in my identical doc system. So it's interesting. All right, so this was the tour of what to do, what services are running on these platforms. So now we just covered this guy. The next thing that we're going to look at is Microsoft Collaborate. So we're going to look at ASP.NET, we're going to look at the Xamarin, we're going to look at .NET MAUI. So I'm excited about that one. Stay tuned for the next video coming soon. With that being said, I am done.